Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this webinar brought to you by AACC Annual Meeting and Clinical Lab Expo Exhibitor University. My name is Teresa Ronk, and I am the Marketing Contact for Exhibitor University. Today's webinar is entitled AACC Annual Meeting and Clinical Lab Expo Press Program. And we are very fortunate to have with us today Molly Poland, AACC Director of Communications and PR. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type in your questions and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. Please join me in welcoming Molly. Molly?
Hi. Thank you very much. I really appreciate people taking the time to kind of, hear a little bit from us about how our press program is going to work and what we can do for exhibitors here. I'm just kind of switching to the first slide, and what we're trying to do here is give a really basic overview about what the possibilities are, but we really hope to hear from you about your questions and how we can make the press program work for you. So as you can see, kind of the most important thing I wanted to mention about the press program is that it is free to exhibitors. So everything we're talking about today is at no cost to you, and we hope you'll take advantage of it. We actually expanded our press program quite a bit in 2013 and had a lot of success, and we learned a lot about when the best times for press conferences would be and when you could get the best reporter attendance, things like that. So for this year, what we've done is we've expanded from one press conference room to two, so we have more opportunities for exhibitors to hold press conferences at the times when you get the most coverage from reporters. So as you can see on the slide, the press conferences will be held on Tuesday and Wednesday, and the slots are 45 minutes each slot, and the slots are available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday in those two rooms. So I know some people probably on this webinar did participate in 2013, but in case you didn't, we're going to have the same amenities that proved popular in 2013. That includes seating for 36 people, a podium, including a microwave and sound system, an LCD projector and a projection screen, and speakerphone capability. And as I mentioned just a second ago, the press conference will begin each hour on the hour, and they can only last for 45 minutes. For PowerPoint presentations, you will have to bring your own laptop. AACC is not providing that. And I just want to be clear that organizations holding press conferences are responsible for providing the call-in numbers for their event and providing call-in information to reporters if you want them to cover your event remotely. So we have the speakerphone capability, but you're responsible for the numbers and reaching out to reporters about that. I'd love for you to think about, being a part of our press program and reaching out to us as early as you can with information about when you'd like to have your press conference and what the title will be. Christine DeLong is our communications coordinator. She's here with me right now, and she's the contact for that. Our contact information is in the slide presentation. And, the sooner you get in, the better slot you get, essentially. So, and I just want to take a second to kind of talk through what a typical press conference looks like at a meeting like this. As I'm sure you know, most press conferences have one moderator and 2 to 3 speakers. Any more than this is typically too much for a 45-minute presentation. Typically what works best at these kinds of meetings is for your moderator to really set the stage for the story. So thinking about, why is this news announcement, why is it relevant to patients? How will this help people in the field? Essentially what the moderator is doing is setting up the problem. Then you have your first speaker, who I would suggest you have speak for 10 minutes and kind of give the first part of the solution to the problems the moderator set up. Then you have, again, your set kind of flows through. Your second speaker speaks again for 10 minutes. And then if you have a third speaker, that person would kind of wrap it all up. If you only have 2 speakers, then the moderator would come back and wrap it up. Then that gives, so you have your speakers talking for 30 minutes, and then you have 15 minutes for Q&A. So just to give some tips for what's worked, again, at least for me in the past, typically what I do is once I've identified the speakers and the moderator for the press conference, for the news announcements I want to make, I learn as much as I can about the announcement. I do a lot of research. Then I set up an initial call to discuss the announcement with the speakers and the moderator and kind of talk through, when I've done my research, I think about what does it seem to me? What do I think the press implications are going to be? And then I kind of query the speakers about that and try and get a lot of information about that. After that call, what I typically do is write up talking points to tell the story. So, keeping in mind the time restraint, so 5 minutes for the moderator, 10 minutes for the first 2 speakers, 5 minutes for that last speaker, putting all the relevant, setting up the problem and the solutions, kind of putting that story together for the speakers is generally really helpful. After the call, after I write the talking points, I have another call with the speakers, and we go over the talking points, and sometimes they'll say, hey, you know what, like you really missed the point here, or there are other things that are really more relevant to press or to patients or to the field in terms of new technologies. So let's revise it. And then finally, once we kind of have the talking points in a good place, I sit down and again, after having talked to the speakers a few times, think about what are potential pitfalls? Like what are things that the press might come up with that could that are questions we need to be prepared to answer. And so I put together a Q&A document and share that with the speakers. So once you do all this work for the press conference, how do you get the reporters there? Like how do you, at AACC, we'll have registered media coming to the meeting, and what you can do is you can get the list of the media who came to our 2013 meeting. If you reach out to Christine, we can give you that list immediately. We're reaching out to even more media for this year, and we'll have that registered press list will be available as of July 14th. So we can share that with you then. But kind of as I noted earlier, once you decide to hold a press conference, you're responsible for getting reporters to your press conference. We work on getting to the meeting. We want you to work on getting them to the press conference. So the media list that you get from Christine can be really helpful with that, because reporters are generally thinking about 2 weeks before the meeting, what are they going to cover at the meeting? What are their stories? So that can be really a good time to reach out to the reporters. At that point, you should have some your talking points together for your press conference, and you can really do a good pitch out to the targeted reporters you want at your meeting. And then, of course, last year we had a lot of success with some companies who were pretty aggressive in reaching out to reporters. They, let the reporters know about their press conference information before the meeting, and, even on the day of, they were emailing reporters and reminding them that the event was happening. Another good tactic, kind of post-press conference, is to bring the reporters onto the show floor if you do have a new technology or a new product that you want to show. Of course, I just want to make it clear that reporters on the show floor have to be accompanied by AACC staff. So you just need to reach out to me or to Christine and let us know if you want to take reporters onto the show floor. And I wanted to, I've reached out to a lot of people with this information as well, but I wanted to just bring it up on this webinar to let you know that this year we're really trying to expand our press net even further and reach out to reporters who are interested in new technologies who may not be, we're getting the industry reporters who are usually reporting on the meeting. And we want to reach out a little bit further and kind of grab people who may be covering shows like the Consumer Electronics Show, things like that. And so we're hoping to hear from you, our exhibitors, about what groundbreaking new products or cutting-edge new technologies you're going to be showcasing at the annual meeting. And we'd like to use that in our pitching to reporters to get them to come to the meeting. So I put on here, like, some questions to keep in mind are, how will this technology affect patients? Will it, can they be diagnosed more quickly? Will it help them with treatment? Or ultimately, is this a new technology or a new product that's really going to change the field? You have to be thinking about, again, as we're thinking about pitching to reporters, how is this touching patients? How is this improving healthcare as a whole? That's really what grabs people and gets them excited. So if you could send me just about 100 words about any exciting new technology, that would be, I would really appreciate it. We're going to start really aggressively pitching to reporters probably the middle of next week. So getting it sometime in that time frame would be great. And that's it. It's pretty simple. I have here our contact information. That's for me, again, Molly Poland, and then Christine DeLong, who is also can answer any questions you may have. And is very well versed in what to do in these press conferences. So with that being said, I think we wanted to just open it up to any questions.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Molly. That was a lot of great information, and it sounds like a really great and exciting program. And we do have a lot of good questions here, so I will read them off to you. Okay, so our first question is, so once I sign up for a press conference, will AACC ensure that reporters come to my press conference?
So, it's kind of as I mentioned before, the companies are responsible for getting reporters to your press conference itself. So again, we can share the registered media list with you for this year on July 14th, but it is the company's responsibility to get the reporters to the press conference.
Okay. Our next question is, if on the day of my press conference, reporter turns out is low, what do I do? Can I talk to the reporters in the press room and ask them to come to my press conference?
So we have a very strict policy in our press room that it's really meant to be a safe place for reporters and a place where no one is allowed to kind of come past our front desk and to talk to them. Now, we will have in the press room a big bulletin board where you can pin into the bulletin board information about your press conference, when it is, where it is, and we can make that, we'll make the reporters aware that information is up there, and that worked very well for us last year. We'll also have in the front of the room, again, not kind of past the front desk to the safe reporter area, we'll have space tables where you can put your media kits and also information about the meeting, but you won't be able to actually come into the press room and talk to reporters.
Okay, great. Okay, we have a question here. Is there space for media interviews outside of the press conferences and the exhibit floor?
That's a great question, and that's something that we actually wanted to set up this year, a special room for press interviews, where a nice, safe place where people could do that. Unfortunately, with McCormick Place space issues, we weren't able to do that. However, if you have some interviews scheduled, talk to me, talk to Christine, and we'll work with you to try and find a nice, quiet place where you can make that happen.
Okay. Okay, we have a question here. Could you elaborate on press meeting to be accompanied by AACC staff on the exhibit floor? That's kind of hard to imagine. How is that managed?
Well, we actually had the same policy last year, and essentially what it means is that if you're, for example, having your press conference and you want to do what I alluded to earlier, which is tell your, the reporters you have at the conference that you want to take them to the show floor, you need to let me or Christine know in the press office, and we actually have Christine we'll have multiple people in the press office, and Christine herself, you'll get to know her really well. She's designated to really go with people. So if you're taking, say you have 15 reporters at your press conference, you only need the one staff person to go down there with her. But we can't allow press on the show floor taking photos, taking video without someone being present. So last year it actually was very simple. We were able to work it out really well just by people letting us know ahead of time. And then also the press knows that this is a rule, and so they work with us really closely for when they want to be on the show floor. We did a lot of video interviews last year, so that kind of thing. Again, we make sure we work with you so that we can make it happen.
Okay. Is the press office on the same floor as the exhibit floor? What is the room number?
The room number, great question. It is right in between, hold on, let me look. It is not on the same floor as the exhibit floor, but it's really close. Christine, you know the answer to this, don't you?
I know that they're about, I want to say, they're about 5 minutes away from each other. They're technically in separate buildings, but they're really closely connected by a walkway. So you do have to go down. I think the exhibit floor is probably on a lower floor than the press conference room, but it's a short trip. And anyone who wants more details on where they're located can email me, and I can send you a map of McCormick Place and point them out.
Thanks, Christine. And so our meetings, people have assured us that the press room, the press conference rooms are close to the show floor. The press room itself is in 427 BC.
Great. Okay. Are there any restrictions on press conferences and booths?
You cannot have a press conference in your booth.
Okay, that answers that. How do we market to the reports to encourage them to come to our press conference time?
Sure. I mean, this is kind of what I was talking about with the slide on the reporters. So what I would suggest, again, is once you have, you can reach out to reporters with the 2013 registered press list that you can get from Christine. You could get that today if you wanted it. Not all of those reporters will be me, but I would say the large majority of them will be there. And again, we'll give you the registered press list if you request it by July 14th. And then once you have that list, it's going to be a spreadsheet that has emails and phone numbers in it. These days, certainly your initial outreach should be via email. Press rooms are getting so small that reporters don't respond to an initial phone call generally at all anymore. You really kind of have to pitch them with an email to start. So what I would suggest is, hopefully at that point, before you're pitching reporters, you've already thought through what's your story, what's the real value, and then you do a pitch to reporters. And what generally that includes is you do some research on the reporters that you're pitching. You look and see what recent stories they've written, and you kind of look and you see what your story, how that relates to something that they're already interested in. So reporters don't like to get pitches about things that are, completely totally unrelated to them. And again, they're so inundated with pitches these days that's really important to target the pitch to something that you can already see they've written about. So you kind of do that. You show what, again, kind of what I was mentioning earlier, is that it tends to be very valuable to talk about what is the effect on patient health, or if you're reaching out to industry reporters, which we do get a lot of at our meeting, I think the effect on the field is also a very, very good angle to choose.
Okay, great. Can we approach media outside the press office?
Yes, you can. Outside the press office, they are they're on their own. We can't protect them.
Okay, great. How many media attendees do you envision attending based on last year's meeting?
So last year we had about 44 media attendees. That was in Houston, which is not a really big media town. This year we're in Chicago, so we have high hopes we'll get to at least 50. We're hoping maybe a little bit more.
Great. Can reporters join the press conference remotely, and how does this work?
Yes. So we don't have webcasting capabilities in the press conference rooms, but we do have conference phones. So that's, you would have to, we provide the conference phone, but you'd have to work with us to figure out to get your own call-in number and to share that call-in number with the reporters who want to join remotely. And we had a few folks do that last year, and it worked very well.
Okay. Back to the question. Back to the type of media. What would be the breakdown in the media? Mostly trades?
Yeah, it's mostly trades. Last year we really, we really ramped up our press program in a way that it hadn't been ramped up before. And we really tried to get a lot of more general science media there from bigger papers. And I think, what we're doing now, again, what I was alluding to with this idea of reaching out more broadly to tech reporters, we're hoping is going to be really successful because there is a lot of really exciting new technologies that come up at the annual meeting. So I can't state with any certainty how many of those kind of Wired or Fast Company type reporters we'll be able to have there, but that's, we're reaching out beyond industry to try and grab those people, but certainly the industry reporters will be there in full force.
Awesome. So how are the individuals verified as press?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have a fairly rigorous process that you have to go through because, as everyone knows, the media has changed so much. So, for example, you can't just be someone who has a personal blog and get into our press. You can't be a PR person at a company and register as press. You really have to have certified credentials from a media organization to join us in the press room.
Okay. Are there embargoes for data?
There will be embargoes, but that will it will depend on the news itself. So if there is some, certainly if there is a new product or a new technology that you want to give us a little bit of information about, but that you can't, we really can't, that's really mostly embargoed content until the show floor opens, for example, on Tuesday, then you can tell us, we can kind of tease, you can use that to tease reporters and say, like, we have this, here's some vague information about it, but, it's mostly embargoed. And we can also, with embargoes, I would hesitate to give reporters all of your embargoed information, even under embargo, before the meeting, because not all reporters respect embargoes anymore. So I would be cautious about that, but I would certainly use some of that information and give them, to tease them to come to the meeting.
Can you share creative tips from what a company did last year without naming the company, of course?
Sure. Honestly, I don't want to name. There was one company that did exceptionally well last year, and what they did was really impressive, but it was really old school PR. So essentially, what they did was they reached out to reporters. They had a really well told story. One thing that a company did that was effective was, a lot of companies will do leave behinds at the press conference. So essentially, that's maybe a one-page document that has the salient facts, that's kind of got graphics or has an infographic or something with it. But really, it's about reaching out to the reporters, making sure you have a good story, and if you do, the reporters really will come. And like I was saying before, we did see some, people like to, if you can take after your press conferences, if you have a new product or a new technology that's on the show floor, you can show the reporters. Again, escorted by AACC staff. That's something, anyone responds to because, people are tactile. They like to be able to see things, touch them.
Great. Do we have to get our press topic approved by you?
No, we don't have to approve it, but what is useful is if you give us, again, it can change slightly, but if you have a sense of what your press conference will be about, we use that when we're pitching to reporters or when we're telling them what's happening at the meeting. So it's helpful for us to have it because we can just give you a little bit of help in telling people about your conference.
Great. If you get inquiries from reporters about the 100 words we've submitted, will you pass those along?
Of course.
There you go. All right. I've heard that most of the best PR is outside of the meeting. Is that true?
Well, I don't think so. But I will say again that prior to 2013, I think the AACC had not focused as much on the press program as we are doing now. And so we did see that the people who participated in our press program last year had a lot of success. There wasn't a lot last year. I actually can't think of anything that happened last year that I know of that was outside our meeting that got any coverage at all, outside of our program. So, we think that's kind of what happened because we didn't, at the time, in the past, we didn't have a lot of help to offer. But now that we do, and the reporters are, in the press room with us, we're feeding them. Reporters love food. They love us, and so it helps to be part of the program.
Okay, good. Have there ever been press conference or press releases if no data is being presented at the meeting?
Yeah, you can do a press conference and a press release about anything that you want, but typically if you have no news and no hook that reporters can see as newsworthy, they're probably not going to attend the press conference. Now, you can do press releases without doing a press conference, and we will have a digital press room that's available to all exhibitors and that all the reporters, both remotely and on-site, will be able to access with press releases. And so if you have something that's maybe not like huge or earth-shattering, but you want to get a release out, absolutely I would recommend you do a press release and put it in the digital press room.
Okay, great. Let's see. What will AACC be promoting?
Oh, what a great question. We are still working on that right now. So we'll have, typically we have about 5 or 6 things that we want to put out there at the annual meeting, and then just a few of those that we actually do press conferences around. So we're still determining right now what that will be.
Okay, great. After we hold a press conference, what will reporters do with the information from the press conference?
Well, it's kind of up to the reporter. So what you hope, right, is you have your press conference and your speakers are engaging and the reporters ask questions. And then, I think ideally what you'd like to see is that the reporters then go back to the press room where we have it all set up comfortably for them with Wi-Fi. and they write a story about your new product. Now, no one can control what they write stories about. Certainly the industry press has a certain quota of stories that they're supposed to be creating around the AACC annual meeting. So, the industry press tends to be a little bit, if you know someone there and you've developed a relationship with them, it's a little bit more of a sure thing. But, obviously the bigger outlets are going to give you more bang for your buck in terms of what you get. So it just, I guess, depends on how interested that person is in the topic that you're talking about.
Okay, great. When are the AACC press conferences?
So the press conference rooms are available on Tuesday and Wednesday of the annual meeting. So that's the 29th and 30th of July. So that's going to be 9 a.m. They're 45-minute slots only, and they start on the hour every hour, and they're open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. So again, we've already had people reaching out to us, setting up their press conference time. So the earlier you can get to us, the better chance you get to get a good slot. Like I said, we set it up this year where the press conference rooms are only open on Tuesday and Wednesday, because what we found last year is that that's really when the reporters are there and when you're going to get really good attendance at your press conferences. But last year we did fill up all our slots in our press conference program. So again, earlier is better. Okay, great.
Can exhibitors with data be included in the AACC specific press conference?
I mean, anything is possible, but I'm not sure. It would just totally depend on what it was. It would have to be something that, benefited both AACC and the exhibitor.
Okay. And then back with when the press conferences are, there's a question, do you know when the specific AACC organization press conference is going to be?
No, not yet.
Not yet, okay. And do you have any guidance on how to write a press release that will grab attention?
Sure. I mean, we could do a whole webinar on that, but I mean, essentially, again, it's all about the hook. That's what people here are always tired of me talking about the hook, but you want to think about, put yourself in the shoes of a reporter and think, if I were someone who may not know a lot about this product or this technology or this news, the science, what would make me interested? And in general, it's kind of what I was alluding to before, which is that people respond to people. So if there's some kind of patient hook that you can kind of draw some kind of connection to patient health or overall health care, that tends to be very valuable. And again, if you're really trying to reach the industry press, which is a great group to reach, because as I said, we really get them out in full force at the meeting. You talk about how it affects the field. So with press releases, obviously you want the hook in the very first paragraph. You want the reporter to only have to read that first paragraph to get what you want them to get. Making it as concise and not in marketing language, but in clear language. That's all kind of what you do, and then making sure, obviously, you have the right contact information. Also, typically, if you have some multimedia that you can attach to the press release, that really helps with getting attention. So maybe there's a podcast that's related. Maybe there's just some really great photographs or, kind of infographics. Again, everybody loves infographics. Things like that really help pick up.
Okay. Is there a specific Twitter handle for the conference?
Yes, it's hashtag AACC 2014.
Great. Okay, and let's see. Can we serve food and drink during our press conference?
So we don't have it set up for that. However, if you reach out to me, reach out to Christine, and we can work with you about how, and essentially there are a lot of labor laws in Chicago, so we have to make sure that you're working within those labor laws at McCormick Place. But we can certainly work it out.
When are the plenary sessions to pick a good time to have a press conference?
The plenary sessions are in the morning. So on Tuesday, hold on, I'm looking it up. On Tuesday, they're from 8:45 a.m. to 10:15 a.m.
Great. Okay. Is there Wi-Fi in the press conference room?
No.
Okay. Will there be a tech support available in case something goes wrong in our press conference room with the projector, et cetera?
Yes. So if something happens, again, both the press conference rooms are kind of on either side of the press room. So someone from AACC staff will be in there. So if you run into a problem, just come into the press room and we'll make sure that it works.
Good. How many media kits should I bring with me? And where do I drop off media kits? And what is the process for this?
Sure. So the media kits should be dropped off in the press room. As I kind of alluded to earlier, we'll have 2 long tables at the very front of the press room where exhibitors can drop off their media kits. I'd recommend doing probably 80 to 100 media kits, not more than that. And we'll let you know, again, you can come in. There'll be someone right at the front desk from AACC staff, and we'll let you know where to drop them off right there.
Okay. Can we give away samples or giveaways at our press conference?
Sure, of course. I would encourage it.
Awesome. Okay. Will AACC pick up a sign indicating that my press conference is going on, or do I need to put up my own sign?
So all the signage for the AACC will provide will just be kind of AACC Press Conference Room 1. So that's what we'll provide. So if you want a sign about your specific press conference, you'll have to provide that yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for right now as far as the questions. Keep in mind that we are going to be sending out the PowerPoint here that Marlene and Christine created, as well as a link to the webinar. So in case you didn't catch all this great information, you can listen to it again. If you have any other questions, you will have Molly and Christine's email address, so you can email them directly with any questions. And I thank everybody for joining us today, and I thank you, Molly and Christine, for such a great presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, and have a great day, everybody.
You too.